Since I really want to grab your attention for this video, I'm going to begin with a joke. But let's say I have two jokes in mind. How do I decide which one to tell you? One way is to look at past reactions. Maybe one of them got more laughs overall, so I'd go with that. But wouldn't it be better if I could tailor the joke to you personally? If I knew you liked clever wordplay or were a science fanatic, I could select this one on the left. But if you're anything like me and your sense of humor is a bit immature, I'd probably go with the one on the right. If I only looked at which jokes received the most laughs, or votes, I could never adapt my joke to your specific sense of humor. So why bring this up? It's because this exact problem arises when training large language models, or LLMs, like ChatGPT. LLMs are fine-tuned using human preferences, but only learn which responses were selected, not why, meaning we do not know whose interests or needs they actually reflect. To fix this, we wanted to ask a deeper question. Instead of training models on the responses with most votes, or whatever floats users' boats, we wanted to figure out whose boat does each response float. This question was tough to answer, so we wrote a research paper about it. So, hi, I'm Nishant, and I'm excited to share our work from ACL 2025 on improving language model personalization and alignment with individual user preferences. To give some more background into language model training, they are often fine-tuned on preference datasets. These datasets contain an input prompt, a set of two candidate responses, and judgments on which responses users prefer. Aggregating these judgments, the response with more votes is considered chosen, or the winning response, while the other is rejected, or the losing response. Using this data, models learn to generate responses like the chosen one and unlike the rejected one. But as I mentioned before, these datasets don't have personalized instructions, which hinders the steerability of models. For example, here we took a model trained with direct preference optimization, or DPO, on a preference dataset, a standard preference learning framework. We then sampled one question from the test set, a query with party planning advice. While DPO had no trouble responding to this query, when we added a simple personalized request that we do not want to drink alcohol, the model falters. It generates a response that appears to be helpful, but recommends the user to hire a bartender, which could be offensive and unsafe. To fix this problem, we first realized that preference datasets can't use these personalized requests, which we call personas, during inference, since they have not seen them in training. Thus, we could use LLMs themselves to infer these personas, reconstructing missing training data signals for personalization and preference data. If successful, we could train models on these inferred user needs, boosting LLM personalization. This framework was super effective, so we'll walk through it now. In the first step of the framework, LLMs infer personas in preference data, which we call persona inference. Given an input prompt and two candidate responses, the model infers a user who could plausibly prefer one response over the other, like a hardworking user who could win ACL's Best Paper Award without needing to bribe any area chairs. We use this setup to infer personas for both the chosen and rejected responses in preference data. We test persona inference across 4 diverse preference datasets, spanning question answering, dialogue, and education, and use 9 strong LLMs listed here to infer personas. To evaluate if models infer accurate personas, we use a self-consistency check, evaluating if GPT-4o judges a persona as accurately providing support for why its intended response is better. Essentially, if the user described in the persona actually existed, would they prefer the input response over the other? This evaluation showed models can infer accurate personas for chosen and rejected responses in preference datasets. This means there are valid reasons for users to prefer less popular or unconventional responses in preference datasets. LLM personas uncover trends in preference datasets. We analyze the text of personas in chosen and rejected responses. On beaver tails, a question answering preference dataset, annotators prefer meticulous responses and reject direct ones. On our education dataset, users prefer study aids with step-by-step instructions, but not whimsical elements. Thus, our LLM personas also form a useful content analysis tool and might suggest when different preference datasets might not combine well together when merged. Since LLM personas appear high quality, we then move on to step 2 of our framework, training models on LLM inferred personas. We call this step persona tailoring, where, for a given prompt in persona, models generate a response that answers the prompt and tailors the response to the persona. We use Llama 3 405 billion, a strong LLM, to infer personas that a smaller LLM, Llama 3 8 billion, can train on, similar to approaches in knowledge distillation. To test generalization from user-supplied personas, we have 8 users read an input prompt, write 3 personas describing their preferences or needs, then assess responses from our personalized model trained with personas versus a baseline model trained without them. Users rated responses on answerability and personalization to ensure the responses both answered their query and personalized to the persona. Our models trained on LLM inferred personas could generalize to real user needs, largely surpassing the baseline model in personalization, increasing the Likert score by over 1 point, while maintaining answer quality. To get a better sense of our model, I'll now show some successes and failures. For the question, is global warming real? Our model can appropriately adapt its answer based on the user's preferred explanation style, like citing factual sources and relying on anecdotal data. However, this does pose risks, as an adversarial user could specify that they want to mislead users to elicit misinformation from our model. This suggests a need for more work in balancing the safety and personalization of LLM outputs. To recap, LLMs infer accurate personas explaining why chosen or rejected responses may be preferred in preference datasets. These personas can form synthetic training data for improving LLM personalization. And finally, users rate our model trained on these personas as significantly more personalized than a baseline model. This leads to 2 natural research questions. First, how can alignment strategies best capture the needs of individual users? Our persona inference method is one way, but we likely need ways to capture user backgrounds on a variety of aspects. Second, how can we align personalized LLMs without perpetuating harms? Models trained to follow users' personalized requests will inevitably learn to follow harmful requests, so we must balance these approaches with safeguards to ensure personalization is done responsibly. Thank you all for watching. If you're interested in learning more, please feel free to reach out, and hope we can chat more at ACL 2025 this year in Vienna. Thank you.